Hello and good day, y'all. It sucks that I have to bring this up, but I do. Something I just saw on my news feed a couple days ago. I'm not going to do any teaser. It's about this New York bill that has come out. A bill like this is pretty juicy, so my guess is there's probably been a bunch of people that have already talked about it. I don't know. But I'm guessing there probably has, so I might be a little bit late to the game here. But regardless, if you haven't heard it, I want to bring it to your attention. And not just your attention because of the fact that it's a bill and it's out there, but because of the precedent it's set and what it really means in the greater context and in the bigger scheme of things. So let me just get right to it really quick. This is a bill, let me pull it up. So this is Assembly Bill A416. As of right now, it looks like it's currently sitting in committee. It still has a few steps to go before it's signed by the governor. It may or may not get there. Regardless, if it does get there, then you know what? Hang on. And what happens in places like New York and California tends to spread around the rest of the country. A couple things to keep in mind here, and here's why this is important. For one, even if this bill does not pass, it is a very, very clear not just indication, but show of where people really stand in regard to where they hold in sanctity the Constitution and the rights as afforded by the Constitution. So really quick, whether this bill passes and gets signed by the governor or not, there's a couple things that are really, really important about this. I mean, if it does get signed by the governor, then buckle up, hold on. What tends to happen in New York and places like California ends up spreading around the rest of the country. But even if it doesn't, there's a couple things that are very, very important to keep in mind here. One is think about the sanctity of the writers of this bill and the people like them, which are spreading all over the place and holding positions of power in government. Think of the sanctity that they hold of the Constitution. This is the same Constitution that NPR, Newsweek, and even those writing in the New Republic have come out to say that we think it's a good idea to do away with the Constitution and replace it with a new document, something that's more fitting for our time and for our values. Okay? First of all, think about that. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Second of all, I want you to understand that what happens here does spread around the rest of the country. These kind of bills are proposed by Democrats. Democrats, as we know, are trying to take complete and total control of government. And once they have it, they have no intention of ever letting it go. So keep that in mind as well. The same people that are trying to do everything they can to keep that power. Lower the voting age to 16. Do away with and this is where it's really important, do away with the Electoral College. Give statehood to D.C. everything they can to assure power and votes for them, notwithstanding the educational system and how they're bringing kids up with things such as critical race theory and so forth, and how kids are going to be influenced. There's a reason why they want to lower the voting age to basically just out of middle school, just out of junior high. And it's not because these people that young, with the exception of maybe a few, are smart enough in civics and economics and American understanding to be able to cast an educated vote. But as we know, proof by that 16 voting age, Democrats' constituency and their necessity to survival is the low-informed voter. And we have seen it for the last 4 years over and over and over. But the one that's really important here is keep in mind that they want to do away with the Electoral College. There are people that will say things like, well, the Electoral College is old, it's outdated, it was based upon land and slavery ownership and all of these kinds of things. And then they'll say things such as, it is the worst kind of voter oppression to have, or suppression to have, the Electoral College, because the majority is not getting their voice. Keep in mind where the majority is. The majority is places like this, where this bill is coming from. New York, LA, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle. I mean, these are places that essentially it is the people that live here that determine the face of the rest of the nation, who you're going to be, how you're going to live, what you're going to be like, and you're going to fall right in line. You better expect that they're going to expect you to fall right in line. I don't care if you're rural town America. It doesn't matter. You don't get your voice anymore. That is what the Electoral College protects, so that even these other places can still have a voice and a chance to step up in a vote and be counted. They don't want that because they know that as soon as they do away with the Electoral College, it is mob mentality. It is, as the people who want to do away with it say, you need the voices of the people to count. We're a democracy. Well, a democracy is mob mentality. When it is the voice of the majority, then that means the minority ends up becoming squashed underfoot. So keep that in mind. Those are very, very important, because what happens here spreads around the rest of the country, including where you live. Now let's look back at the bill really quick. Now, when looking at a document like this, it is incredibly important to read it slowly and to read it word for word, intentionally understanding what each word is saying, because when these bills are written, they are written, every word chosen in a bill is chosen intentionally, because that string of words means exactly what they want to say. When they want certain things to be vague, they will word it as vague. When they want certain things to be very precise, they will word it as very precise. So let's take a look here. Looking down here, just kind of explaining the act. An act to amend the public health law in relation to the removal of cases, contacts, and carriers of communicable diseases who are potentially dangerous to the public health. Now let's pause. Offhand, that sounds really, really great, right? It's like, okay, cool, they want to keep us safe, they want to protect us. But let's look again at the bill, read that section really, really slowly, keeping in mind a specific part. To amend the public health law in relation to the removal of cases, contacts, and carriers of communicable diseases, right here, who are potentially dangerous to public health. Now, when they use a word like potentially, you have to understand that's a very big, broad statement. Potentially is not exact. Potentially is not, well, that guy did shoot that person. It's that guy potentially shot that person. Or it's not that that guy is going to commit a crime, and that guy potentially going to commit a crime. And oftentimes potentially is subjective. And that subjectivity is based upon somebody's bias. Okay? Keep that in mind. Let's go on. Jumping down here to these sections. Let's start. Section 1. The public health law is amended by adding a new section. Okay. Beyond that. Removal and detention of cases, contacts, and carriers who are, pause, who are or may be a danger to public health. Okay. When it says something like who are or may be, it also includes maybe not. Do you understand what's actually being said here? It's not saying they could have stopped at people who are and then define what who are means. They could say who are, who have tested positive, who shows that they are a carrier. Let's move them out, keep people safe. But it didn't stop there. And they did not stop there for a reason. And remember, when they write a bill, it is intentional. Every word dripping and pregnant with meaning, including vague language deliberately and on purpose. Okay, I'm going to give you the Kamala head nod. Okay, except you got to get that smug look. That smug, come on, you know the thing. Come on, man. So when they say maybe, again, they also mean maybe not. Think about the door that this is opening, and let's continue on. May be a danger to public health. Other orders. The provisions of this section shall be utilized in the event that the governor declares a state of health emergency due to an epidemic of any communicable diseases. Let's jump down to section 2. Upon determining by clear and convincing evidence that the health of others is or may be endangering by a case, contact, or carrier, or suspected case, okay, suspected case, based on what? Think about how many times we've seen the news, or you haven't seen the news, depending on where you get your information. And when we say it's seen the news, it is literally filmed, posted, visible to the public, whether or not the mainstream media chooses to show it. But how many times people have been rounded up, pulled out for potential issues? Think about in Idaho. This is an example that comes to mind. In Idaho, all these people that were in a church service, outdoors, right? Outdoors, spread out, outdoors, singing in a church service in a big open lot, and the police showed up and started taking people away. When the people show up, just like what's happening in New York, when the people show up, or when the police show up, they're coming out there based upon an edict or an order of a governor or the mayor. That is not law. It's not law. It's an edict. It is not law. So then they come out and they say, well, you're breaking the law. They are not. That is not written into law. The second thing is the Constitution holds power above any governor's order or edict. And the Constitution says that you have the right to peaceably assemble. It doesn't say why. You can get together for a pizza party. You can get together to paint a group of dogs' toenails. It doesn't matter. You have the right to peaceably assemble. When these people come in and start arresting and taking them out, they are oath breakers. 100%. When these police are sworn an oath to the office, they are also swearing an oath to the Constitution. You can look up these different departments, look at the oath that they swear to uphold the Constitution. Often it says against dangers either foreign or domestic. So, we're getting off the path here, but I just want these things for you to keep these things in mind. Now back to the bill. So, in the opinion of the governor, after consulting with the commissioner, may pose an imminent and significant threat to the public health, resulting in severe morbidity or high mortality, and again, may pose, okay? May pose. The governor or his delegee, including but not limited to the commissioner or the heads of local health departments, may order the removal and or detention of such a person or group of such persons by issuing a single order, identifying such persons either by name or by reasonably specific description of the individuals or the group being detained. Such persons or group of persons shall be detained in a medical facility or appropriate facility or premises designated by the governor or his or her delegee in complying with subdivision 5 of this section. So let's break this down. The governor of the state and the mayor, both Cuomo and de Blasio, these same people who are responsible for the death of 6,500 seniors and then tried to blame it on Trump when Trump never told them anything remotely close to what they did to murder these people. And I guess you can't really say murder, but they were at least responsible in these people's deaths. These people are the ones who say, and they leave very open language stating that may, could be, because, and then it says, and it gives the power to the governor to be the one to decide. Think about what this governor is doing to the state of New York. Think about these people who have lost their jobs, these people who have lost their businesses. You've got the example of the guy that wanted to open his business back up, walked up, showed up, a bunch of people showed up with him. He ended up being arrested. He was arrested, 2 or 3 times because he wanted to open, and just a couple blocks down the road because he was in an orange or a red zone. In an orange zone, what was it? It was only something like a couple blocks down the road that separated the orange from the red zone. It's some arbitrary zone just kind of put up by the powers to be. People were open for business. Right? These big box stores. People are showing up in mass to Costco and Walmart, all these different pieces together. Whereas this gentleman had a small business, an eatery. I don't remember exactly if it was an eatery, barbecue bar, something like that. And he showed up, walked in, he was arrested. And it happened several times. The police that are showing up are turning on the people who are obeying the Constitution while allowing groups like CBLM and Antifa to continue doing what they're doing. And I'm not talking about just peaceful protesters, but I am talking about what we know Antifa does, and we know that by now plenty of CBLM are doing it, showing up and rioting and burning things down and whatnot. And they're standing back, and that can happen. The police are breaking their oath. The people are seeing it. The people are sick of it. And we see how over and over and over in Toronto, in New York, in Salem, Oregon, and Portland, and throughout areas of California, all over the place, people are showing up and they are defying these edicts. They are defying these unconstitutional, draconian orders that we know are not what the science has prescribed, since the World Health Organization has come out and said no more lockdowns. If you really care about COVID, you really care about people's lives, do you realize that more than double the amount of people have died related to COVID without having had COVID through things like businesses shutting down, so people cannot ship supplies? Because people aren't shipping supplies, people are not manufacturing supplies. Because people are not manufacturing supplies, people are not out gathering raw materials. All of these people over the world, especially in these developing and third world countries that are living on a couple dollars a day, they can't work, they can't go into do what they need to do, they can't go on farm because nobody is paying them anything. So the starvation that is happening around the world, you think about that. People are literally starving globally. That is happening around the world. is happening largely because of what's happening here with these Democrat senators, not senators, I'm sorry, but these governors and mayors that are shutting everything down, destroying people's lives, destroying people's businesses for a virus that, let's be real, COVID is real. Nobody's denying that. Well, maybe some are. But for the most part, yeah, COVID is real. And we need to take it serious. We need to take smart decisions with it. Take care of our seniors. Take care of those people at risk. If they need to be shut in, then allow them to be shut in. But quit destroying the country. Quit destroying the economy. But they're not. And it's a power grab. And we see what's happening here in New York, right? So you have Andrew Cuomo and de Blasio shutting things down. And Andrew Cuomo has come out. And he has said that those police in upstate New York who have decided to defy what he said, we're not gonna sit here and be the boot to your orders and do this to people, do this to our communities. We're not gonna do that. No. What did Cuomo get on? He got on TV and he said, for people to defy what I say as governor, see that Kamala thing? As governor, when I give an order, for you to he said, when I give a law, for you to defy a law, which remember, it is not a law. It's not written in law. It is an edict. It is an order from him. It's not a law based upon, guess what? Not science. So when I give an order and these police dare speak out against a law, they're lawbreakers. And you know what? That doesn't make them police. How dare they think they do that? That makes them dictators. That's what Cuomo said. If they do not obey his edicts that are destroying lives, businesses that will never come back, people that are becoming homeless in mass numbers, suicide rates through the roof from where they were, including younger ages. I'm talking 20s. People are dying globally in a greater number than people are dying from COVID. Those are dying who are not having COVID. Like I said, related to, not being able to make money, not being able to eat, starving to death, depression, all around the world. We see in France and UK how people are coming out in mass against their lockdown orders, literally having to have papers to get out of your house. So no, this is what this person is like. Andrew Cuomo. This is what people like Gavin Newsom are like. These are the same people. Whitmer in Michigan, Lori Lightfoot, the list goes on. These are the same people who do as I say, but not as I do, because they'll give these orders. Pelosi, they'll go out and they will then go out on a yacht, go hang out at the beach, go to places to get their hair done, go do whatever they want to do. Or I think it was a mayor somewhere in Colorado, told lockdown, no travel for anybody. He went ahead and traveled down to Arkansas to see family, gathered in a group of family with no mask. Gavin Newsom, of course, showing up more than once and having apologized more than once. Oh, please forgive me. It was a bad decision. I shouldn't have done it as a leader. Showing up and dining at these high-end places in a group with people around them, no social distancing, indoors, no mask. This is why people are defying this whole COVID stuff. Because if the leaders aren't taking it serious, why should we? We're the ones hurting. They're the ones making the money to go buy beachfront properties and to go out and enjoy their parties and social gatherings. So no. So when a bill like this comes out, look at the power it puts in that individual's hands. We know that Andrew Cuomo, he's a despot. He is a tyrant, and he has shown it. He does not care about you. He does not care about the residents of New York, except for those that are funneling money his way and benefiting him somehow. He does not care. I'm going to say it again. He does not care, because you don't listen to their words. You watch their actions, and his actions over and over and over again are unsympathetic, uncaring. He does not care what happens to you or happens to the people in that state, as long as his pockets are being filled, because he is a part of the political establishment, the same establishment as Joe Biden, who is already talking about going to war, who has set up people like Mr. Monsanto himself as the head of the ag department. Oh, imagine that. And the list goes on and on. John Kerry as the environmental czar who owns planes. several cars, several houses with huge footprints using a lot of electricity and a lot of resources. These people are hypocrites. They don't care about you. Same thing with this bill. Essentially what this bill does is it gives him the power to say, I will choose and decide who I want to pick up. Anybody who defies his order, for example. You can have a name or you can have a pretty good description, according to the bill. And I'm going to pick him up by my choice. And I'm going to put him either in a medical facility or an appropriate facility by the governor's choice. That can be anything. Now, I'm not going to go as far as saying internment camps, okay? Like what unfortunately happened with Japanese people in America during World War II. But I'm also not going to go as far as saying not internment camps or something very similar. The point is, this bill gives him the power to call out who he wants to call out for whatever reason he wants, because it's deliberately written vague in the language in very specific areas to allow him to use his subjective ideas of what he wants to do and who he wants to target to take those people and put them wherever is appropriate as according to the bill, again, vague language. So, you want to vote Democrat? You're voting for this all over the country. This is what you're voting for, because these are what these Democrat leaders. Now, there's some, Vernon Jones here in Georgia, for example, that are fantastic. He's Democrat, and I would vote for him all day if he was in my district. I think he's wonderful. But people like Biden, Harris, Ossoff, Warnock, all these establishment people, and the Republicans are much better. But you want to vote for these people? The same people that want to disarm you? You know, I've talked to people here who have either come from communism or have come a generation removed from communism. My wife herself is Russian. She's told me stories. And I have lots of Russian and Ukrainian friends of people that were in communist areas. And they can all see it. They all look at everything going on, what's lining up from disarming the people. Yes, and for you people who say they're not coming for your guns, shut your mouth. Because you are wrong. You know nothing. They say it themselves from their own mouth, written on their own website. So don't tell me they ain't coming for your guns. Because yes, they are. And why would they want to disarm you? Remember, you are the same people that said Donald Trump is a tyrant and he's a fascist. Well, what do they do in tyrannical nations and fascist nations? They'll come for your guns, right? They want to disarm the people. They want to take the power from the people and give it to the government. Or whoever's at top, at least. Donald Trump was not disarming people. He wanted people to have their rights. You people are fools. You people, when you come out, you speak and you use these keywords like fascist and tyrant and dictator. Know what you're saying first, because you have no clue. You live in this alternate reality that has nothing to do with real life. And we can prove it to you with facts. Over and over and over, but you are too feckless to look and see it and read it and understand it for yourself, even though we try. So, are these people trying to take control? 100%. Yes, they are. This isn't some conspiracy theory. It's literally in writing. Like I said, even if this bill does not pass, think about what the Democrats want to do, right? With taking away, to keep all the power, with taking away the Electoral College, to allow places like this place, New York, to make the determination of what happens all over the rest of the country. Okay? They would control that. Keep that in mind. And for two, even if it doesn't pass, this is the mindset of the people proposing these bills, putting these out there, these government leaders. These are the ones. Keep an eye out for a little thing that I do on. Actually, I don't want to say that quite yet. Anyway, a little thing on AOC in regard to a mailer that came out here in Georgia. In a new series I'm going to do called The Callouts, where I'm going to call out not necessarily by name, but certain people and things they say. And I'm just talking even normal people, because somebody needs to say something about what these people are saying and what they're spreading. It is not based on fact. People, please pay attention to this stuff. Okay? I'm not saying, yes, they are making internment camps and people are just going to sit here and be hoarded up into, as awful as it sounds, but, you know, train cars, whatever, black SUVs, whatever you want to use, you know, and taken to these places like gulags. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. But I am saying that it could. in some form or fashion, right? Because these people are absolutely not abiding by the Constitution. You have the right to assemble peaceably. It says that. The people who are peaceably assembling, as we see, like people from the right or far right, as anybody on the left wants to call anybody who's centrist or on the right, they're getting together, they're holding flags, they're chanting, they're calling out for Trump and all that, but guess what they're not doing? They're not burning down buildings. They're not going out and deliberately finding people to hunt them down and attack them or shoot them in the streets like we see in Portland or beat them to death. These people aren't doing that, okay? They might go out, they might drink beers, they might have foul mouths, and I don't think that that's cool. I wish they wouldn't, but you have the right to free speech, right? But the people on the left, not all of them, but we know that where the violence is coming from, right? Regardless of what media tells you, media is just full of it. Regardless of what they tell you, violence is coming from the left. Kenosha burning down, buildings burning down, gas stations, flaming dumpsters being thrown into, pushed into gas stations, police being attacked and beaten. Those ones in LA that were shot in their car. The ones in Portland where somebody broke the back window and threw a Molotov cocktail in there at the cops. The violence that's happening, the people being attacked, the constant cancel culture, the everything that continues to happen, the village, the pillaging, the looting, the burning things down. This isn't just laying in a freeway and stopping traffic and causing unrest, distress to people. All this stuff that's happening, this violence is happening from the left. And I, as a guy from Portland, I know where these things are occurring over there. I know the entire city isn't burning down, but I know the areas and the blocks where these things are occurring. And I also know that, the Portland police, of course they're not doing anything. They're letting it go. But you get people showing up in Salem who want to protest Trump supporters who are peaceful, even holding thin blue line flags supporting the police. When Antifa shows up, it's those people, right? Those on the right that are getting peppered by the police, not Antifa. Even though Antifa, two people from Antifa broke through the line and came into the Trump supporters, one with a paintball gun and one with a real gun. And the police started pushing back the people on the right, shooting them with pepper balls and so forth, letting the people on the left and Antifa do whatever they want. Okay? So this is what's happening in this country. There's no conspiracy. This is legitimately what's happening. And media has a big part to play in it because they need this kind of unrest, especially with Trump now on the way out, potentially. They need something in order to keep ratings and money. And if it's not a new war, which Biden is going to, for Biden to start, which I guarantee you, Biden is going to start something. You watch. I promise you, he's a part of the establishment. He personally makes money off of these conflicts. His brother is the one that got the contract to go in and rebuild places, schools, and so forth in Iraq, making millions for the Biden family. Even Politico put out a report a couple of years ago called Biden Inc., explaining how the Bidens are incredibly corrupt and making money off of war because it is the industrial war complex. You look at the people that Biden puts into office and so forth. It's a return to the same thing. And it's not to take care of you. They don't care a rat's ass about you. Just look at this bill. What's coming in this bill? It's coming from the rest of the nation. And these people that I know who are from areas of communism or former communism, they all see it. And they're like, why can't you people see what's going on here? Everything is lining up. Everything is lining up. But people refuse. So those of you who have appreciate your right to bear arms, I don't care. I don't care what, and I'm just going to tell you, what law is passed, we have a constitution in this nation. Of course, the Constitution is only strong as the respect for it and whether or not people choose to honor it and follow it. But we do have a Constitution. And for those who are in respect of the Constitution, you do not give up your rights. 100% do not give up your rights. The government has no right to take them from you. I don't care if it's your right to health, if your right to, whatever, your right to assemble, your right to bear arms. Don't give it up. The government is doing everything it can to get bigger and to take control, while the people get smaller and smaller and smaller and forced to become dependent because, as we see from groups like CBLM, their whole idea and the whole premise of what they push is victimhood. Because as long as you're a victim, you can be controlled. As long as it's somebody else doing something and you owe me something, you can be controlled. But as soon as if they really wanted people to have opportunities, they would empower people. They would take away anything having to do with any kind of victimhood and say, no, you've got that power within you. You've got opportunities. We're going to show you how. We're going to bring people alongside you, and we're going to show you how to do these things. And we're going to bring opportunity. If only we had a president that would do something like, oh, I don't know, opportunity zones. Giving people the opportunity to have opportunities. But no, the Democrats shoot themselves in the foot. Well, they don't. The voters do. The leaders don't, because they know exactly what they're doing. And in order to be a Democrat voter, you have no choice but to be a low information person. Maybe a few exceptions, but for the most part, that's their constituency. So be aware of what's coming. Keep an eye on it. I just want to bring your attention to this bill, and this video went way longer than I intended it to. But the information is still important. I wish you will, guys. Just pay attention, okay?